Hey guys, I'm back. Today was kind of a maintenance type of day, and well, anyways, I kind of redid most of the bearings in this machine today. So I just greased them, didn't like take them out, take them apart, but I did take this bottom bearing out and tried to grease it, but I couldn't get any grease to go into it. But it's a sealed bearing, and I thought maybe I could get a little needle grease this fitting thing in there to put a little grease in it, but it didn't. But anyways, it was making noise on me, and I couldn't figure out what the deal was. And here, what it is these little ones are starting to wear out, and I need to get some new ones made up, some at least new brass parts made up for them, and knock the old brass out and put new brass in. But that is a machine shop job, and if I had a little lathe, I could do it here. But I guess I will have to. I got some friends that have a machine shop, so I'll have them make me up some. But anyways, I did manage to find one that was good, and I put it on the back. It was actually the one off of here. I don't use this one anyways very often, so I took this one and put it here, and now the noise is gone. So we're back in business again, which is good because I'm actually working on a project with it. Makatagans, by the way, is what the project is this week. So yeah, I'll have a few of those on the website here in the next couple weeks or so. But anyways, the video is about this. We're going to start working on this again a little bit. I actually got a whole bunch of other stuff to do, but I was already working on that one, and I decided let's go ahead and work on this one for a little bit tonight and then call it a night. So here's where we're at. We got everything all painted. I actually have the motor sitting exactly where I want it. I took this scale and sort of used it to line up the pulleys, and they're kind of in line, at least as close as I need to get them. And I took a pencil and I marked out the slots for each one of these little holes. Next thing I gotta do is I need to round up some bolts. I got some rounded up, but some of them need to be shortened to the right length and stuff. So I need to round up some bolts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill holes in this, but I'm going to drill the holes in the very middle of each slot. That way it gives me room to move that motor in and out a little bit. It'll give me about, I don't know, 3/8 or so of an inch either way. And the way it's set up right now, I set it up. I was thinking about setting up for a belt that I could have. I mean, you know, like any kind of belt that I could find around the house or whatever, or around the garage, I should say. And I changed my mind, and I decided that I took the belt off this one, and I'm going to make all of them the same size belt. That way I can interchange belts if I have to. If one breaks, I can put it on the other. They'll all be the same size. It'll just make things a lot easier in the shop. So, you know, so that's what I'm going to do. And I have another one of these machines coming too. And it's got a little bit of work to do on it too, but I'm going to go ahead and set it up the same way, same belt, and the whole 9 yards. So, you know, so now I'm going to have 3 grinding machines. So that's a good deal. And that's about it for right now. Let me go ahead and I'll take this motor off here, and I'll go ahead and drill the holes in here. And then I'm going to flip this thing up without the motor on it, and I'm going to countersink the holes from the other side so that it is, and right here's the bolts that I'm going to use, but some of them need to be shortened a little bit. But anyways, I'm going to countersink the holes on the other side so that it's the hole is a little bit smaller than this bolt, because when I tighten it down, I want this bolt to draw in there and not be able to turn. That way it's kind of stuck there, and it'll be stuck up like that, and then I'll be able to put the nut in front of the top, and a couple washers, a flat washer and a lock washer. So let me go ahead and take this motor off and drill the holes. I'll just hang it over the edge of the table like this, And let me round up a couple of a drill bit and a center drill, and we'll drill them out. Okay, let me get a drill. Okay, so I picked a drill out that is about the same as the thread size, and we will just put it in there and drill them out. Like I said, this is not a fancy setup. It's just something that more of a temporary thing for me, just to get it kind of going. Let's see. First thing I want to do is make sure all these heads are the same size, which I believe they are. Yeah, they are. So. So I want this drill to be about the same width as it is from flat to flat on the head. That way when you pull it down through the hole, the corners on this head will kind of lock it into place. So that's what I'm kind of looking for. And then it'll sort of lock. I mean, the nut's going to hold it anyways, but it'll sort of lock it in there. It would have been faster if I would have measured this, but that right there is close. We'll go one more size bigger, I think. Let's see. Yep, that'll probably work. And what it'll do is it'll pull into that hole, into the countersink hole, and when I tighten the top down, and it'll really lock that bolt in there. Because I don't expect I'll ever have to take them bolts out. I maybe have to take the nuts off the top and pull the motor, but the bolts should never have to come back out of the bottom again. So that's kind of the plan. And I want to countersink them anyways. Otherwise, this board wouldn't sit flat on a surface. So it's got to be countersunk. So to countersink these, I think I could just flip this thing up carefully. Yeah, like that. Not trip over the extra wood I got laying around. And we're just going to use this drill and countersink it just a little ways. Try. Short ones that I know I'm gonna need. Hopefully that'll work. Yeah, that should work. Actually, should be able to take flat washer, put it on there, and I'll crank it in so that it actually draws its way through. That way I can make sure I have enough sticking up on each one. So let me go ahead and get a wrench and we'll do that. Okay, so right there's my bolt. It's right here. Now if I tighten it up from the other side, it sucks it right down into this hole. And I don't know if you can see, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but and we want to suck it in until it's flush and tight, obviously. And that is going to work out. That's tight right there. That's going to work out good. We're going to do that to all of them. So now it's flush with the surface, and it can't turn in the hole either because it's locked in on all sides. So yeah, I could probably just, yeah, now you could just loosen it up and you don't even have to hold it or anything. So let me go ahead and do that to the rest of them. And I have to shorten a few of these bolts too, but I need to see which ones I need to shorten first. So let me go ahead and do the ones that I think are the right length, and we'll get back. Okay, so I shortened my last bolt up on the grinder, and I got to countersink it yet, just a little bit. I chipped this one out when I countersunk it a little bit, but I think it'll be okay yet. I guess you got to be careful. Trying to do this and not put too much pressure on it because you can accidentally put too much pressure on it, push it right through the hole. Throw a washer on it temporarily and pull it through too. They're not all exactly the same length, but they're close. Do it. For the heck of it. Those are all nice and flush. Take that back off. So then, when you do that, what you end up with is a board with 4 holes, a board with 4 bolts already mounted on it, which makes it nice because then all you got to do is take your motor and set it on here, like so. And now this gives me room to slide it back and forth, at least a little bit, and should be relatively easy to put the bolts on. So let me go ahead and put, see, I had it set up for a flat washer and a lock washer, but I don't know if I'll be able to get that on all of them. Yeah, some of these I'm just going to, oops. Wow. Okay, save the camera. Sorry about that. I didn't realize it was that loose. Got lucky there. But anyways, so some of these are just going to end up with a lock washer on them and no flat washer. But that'll still be just fine. Either that or, actually, go see if I can find some thinner flat washers, at least for these two back ones, which I think I have one, but I have other ones too. Let me be right back. Okay, so I got all the bolts on there. They're loose, obviously not loose enough, but they're pretty loose. Yeah, and I can still slide the motor. So next thing I'm going to do is steal the belt off this other machine, which is a pretty easy thing to do. And we will slide this all the way up, put it on, grab our wrench, slide that all the way back. I don't know if that'll be too sloppy or not. And I'm probably going to have to get an open-ended wrench. Let me find an open-ended wrench. Okay, well, I got it mounted. I don't know if this is going to be a tight enough belt or not. It's got a little play in it, but not a whole lot. It's a used belt, so maybe if I get the same belt of the same size, it'll be newer and a little tighter, and it might work a little better even yet. But if that doesn't work, and I think it will, but if it doesn't work, I can always take, because I can't really move this engine back any farther, so I can always take these brass bolts and move the machine up a half an inch or something, which is possible. Or I could just say the heck with it and go with a belt that's an inch shorter, which would still work on that other machine too, because that machine runs off of the motor teeters. So it's basically just the weight of the motor puts tension on the belt. So I can actually go an inch shorter on this belt and it would still work on both. So anyway, so that's where I'm at with that. But I think this will at least give us a test run on this thing. Next thing that's left is the wiring, and I ended up finding a steel box, which I was going to get mounted right about here somewhere, and it's just going to have a regular, just a flip switch. It's probably going to end up being a household switch with a household cover. This is never going to get wet, so I'm not too worried about that or anything like that. But the only thing that is a bummer is there's two of these punched, so it just is what it is. Hopefully a mouse won't go in there and build a nest. But yeah, we will get that mounted and see what's next, or maybe I'll block that off with something. Okay, so to wire this thing, we're going to mount this box in here. This is the cord that I made up. I put a plug on the end of it, and it's going to come out one end of the box, and one end's going into the box that way, and then I have this short cord here, and it's going to probably get trimmed down a little bit shorter, but it goes from the box to the motor. And when you get into the box, you take the two ends, and two of these ends from, let's put this mic down. Two of these ends, there's two from this one and two from this one. Two of them will get hooked together. And I wish this cord had a ground on it, but it doesn't, so that may be something we do later on. For right now, when it's not in use, I'll just unplug it. But anyways, we got the two ends here. What will happen is two of these will get plugged in, and then these two on this one and this one will go to one side of a switch. That way, when you flip the switch off, it'll break these two connections, which shuts off the electricity. So we will actually strip both ends of this wire and connect one to the motor, and then feed one into the box. And And for all you guys that do electrical work, I'm not a big electrician guy, so I don't do a whole lot of it. But I will say this, a pair of these, they're made by Klein, and they are excellent little tools for doing this kind of stuff. They strip wires very nicely without any trouble at all. So, you know, it's worth having a pair. They're pricey. They were pricey when I bought them, but they sure are nice. Okay, let me go ahead and get this kind of half wired, and then I'll show you how it's set up. Okay, so I got it all wired up, and it's really hard to see with this camera, and I know that. But anyways, this is the plug going to the wall. It comes into the box. One side of this wire goes to the plug. The other side goes to this wire. And the opposite side of this wire goes to the opposite side of the plug. That way when you switch it on, it turns the plug on. It turns the motor on. And then there's two leads inside the box here in the back of the motor that they go on. And you got to look at the wiring diagram, because you can wire it for clockwise or counterclockwise. You just do what your little wiring diagram goes for. Of course, the guys out there that do this all the time, they probably already know what all that is without even looking at the wiring diagram. But I am personally not that smart, so I have to look at the diagram. So the only thing that's left is to put this cover on, which is no big deal. And I don't have the belt on it yet. This pulley's still really tight, so I'm going to have to try to play around with it and loosen it up before I put the belt on and get this thing going. But I have to put this cover on here, and I'm just using a regular old household cover. Go over top of there, and that's going to be that'll be the setup for it. So let me go ahead and put this cover on, and we will go ahead and I'll try to see how this thing runs. Okay, so we got her all hooked up. There's a little issue with this pulley. Oops. Okay, so we got her all hooked up. There's a little issue with this pulley up here. It's still pretty stiff. So I'm going to keep working on it, see if I can't get it to loosen up. I think it's just the grease in there that's still stiff. It'll run a little bit, but not. It keeps wanting to pop. It keeps stopping, and then the belt pops off. So let me just go ahead and work on this a little bit. But everything works. The bottom pulley's working just fine. I got it all greased up. Actually, I put a little bit too much grease in there, and ended up cleaning up a bunch of grease that got splashed around. But that's okay. At least I know it's good and full of grease now. So we'll go ahead and work on this top pulley, getting it nice and loose, and then we'll try it out again. Okay, so I've been working on this top pulley for a while now, and the problem is that it goes for a few minutes and then it wants to bind up a little bit. And I'm thinking, you can see the old grease starting to come out of the sides of it, but it's like still really dry and hard. So I think more than anything, I need to just keep working this thing. Just keep working it until I can get it to loosen up. And at the same time, I'm trying to, I'll go ahead and put a little bit of fresh grease in there. Hopefully, you know, after a little bit of time working it, it'll loosen up. If not, I'll have to change the bearing, but we'll see. Okay, so I put a little bit of WD-40 on there They seem to have soaked into the bearing just a little bit. And now we're just going to let it run. Let it run and get hot. And then I'll grease that thing again. Hopefully we'll be in good shape. The warmer it gets, the more of that old grease I can see coming out of there. So that's probably a good thing. So let me get back to you. Okay, guys. Getting kind of late. I've been working on this for a while now. I'm pretty happy with it. I got this thing. The top pulley's nice and loose now. In fact, it pops on. It comes on and off, no problem at all. Doesn't bind up at all anymore. I greased it good, greased the bottom. I ended up with a mess because the grease got everywhere. It came out both sides of the bearings. That's a good thing, as far as I'm concerned. At least I know there's fresh grease everywhere in there. Top one, greased it. It was still a little stiff, but I ended up putting a squirt of, and it wasn't WD-40. I said it was, but it was something else, and you can't even get it anymore. It's like some little special thing. I got like a little jar of it left, and I have it in just in a little can because the spray can that used to be in didn't work anymore. I punched a hole in it and put it all in a jar, and I've been using it out of a little oil can. But anyways, I put a little bit on each side of this thing, and then ran it a little bit more, and then finally it just kept running. It didn't pop the thing off at all, and it just kept running really good. So after I got it somewhat warm, I went ahead and greased the top one once, left it run a whole bunch more, and then I just got done greasing it again, and now it's got grease coming out the top side of the bearings too, and I just got done cleaning that mess up. But like I said, I'd rather know that it's getting grease everywhere, and that's a good sign for me anyway. The motor has a little oil hole on it, so I went ahead and oiled it up too, because this motor has sat for I don't know how long, and I'll probably oil it actually a couple more times, because as far as it was given to me, it probably sat on the shelf forever. Who knows how old it is, or what it was used for, or when it was ever oiled. So we'll just keep up with it. Seems to be working okay. It's a little underpowered motor, so you got to kind of take your time with it when you're sanding. I was playing around with it a little bit, so really that motor needs to be a little bit bigger, but for what I'm going to use this for, it'll probably be fine. Another thing I did do, and I made this up for my other grinder because I didn't want to wear down on the tables, is it's just a sheet of steel, and I set it up so that way, and it works for all these little grinders. You can set it up on here, and you put the belt in where the notch is, and then I could put a clamp here and a clamp here, and maybe another clamp out here, and then when I don't know where my jig is, over here. And then when I have my jig and I'm grinding knife blades and stuff like that, at 90 degrees or whatever degree it is, I can come in here and slide it on here. And what it does is it keeps, after you do so many knife blades, if you keep sliding it and sliding it and sliding it on this original table, it eventually starts to wear. In fact, this table on this other machine is steel, and that's what I made the plate up for originally, because you could see where it was just barely starting to wear the steel down, and I didn't want to, and this is a machine top, so I didn't want to mess up the nice flat top, so I ended up making that piece of tin, and it works. It actually extends my table out like another inch and a half on each side too, which helps too. It gives you more room to slide bigger jigs and stuff like that. But I'm actually going to end up making another one of them, and it's going to end up being about 18 inches long and a thicker, heavier plate. That way I can slide a nice bigger jig, on there for bigger knives and stuff like that. But this one here is going to be basically for wood. Might do a little steel on it, but probably not. But if I do, like I said, all I gotta do is clamp the plate down on there, and I'm good to go. So that's a cool thing. But anyways, so I have this thing running, and it's been running for a couple hours now. I just kind of been playing around with it. Seems like it's going to be fine. The belt's going to be fine. The belt doesn't slip at all. In fact, the sanding belt was slipping before that belt was, so that worked out good too. So now that belt will work on any of my machines, which is a plus. So I don't, in fact, I'm probably going to end up going to the store and buying a couple of those belts, because this one's pretty worn, and you know, a few new belts makes these things a little bit more efficient. But anyways, I think that's where we're going to stop this video for now. I just want to say thank you, and if you like the series, like it, share it, you know, subscribe to my channel. I've been working in the blacksmith shop like a lot lately, so my whole Etsy store and my whole website, which is primitivehunter.net, and the Etsy store is Primitive Hunter, they're full. I got everything that I normally do is in stock right now, other than Mockatoggins, and that's what I've been working on this week. But everything else is full. I think I have one Mockatogin on my website right now, and then that's all I'll have for another week or two. I'll try to get everything stocked up for Christmas. I got a few new projects coming that I'm going to put on either the Etsy store or the website. I'm going to do some crooked awls. I've had people ask me if I do them, so I'm going to do them. We'll see how they go. I'll do a few of them. If they don't sell, then I probably won't do too many of them. There's a lot of people out there making them, so I'm going to have to try to do something to make mine a little bit different. But you know, and I'm working on a different kind of spoon carving knife too, that I'm going to make one or two up. I'll probably mess with one of them for myself and get the feel of it and see how I like it, and it'll be kind of a test knife, and if it goes good and I like it, then I may make a few more up for the website. But that's kind of off into the future. It's going to be a spoon carving knife too, but it's going to be a nice bowl shaped knife. I don't know, it's in the project. And also working on a couple new Mockatoggins too. Actually, one new Mockatogin, but I'm working on two blades because I want to make them both exactly the same. Keep one for myself and use it as a test knife. And if it works out good and I like it, I might list the other one on the website. And you know, if it sells decent, then I may go ahead and make more of them up too. But anyways, that's it for the website stuff. And anyways, I just want to say like, share, subscribe, you know, and if you like the videos, you know, keep watching. We're probably going to do one more video on this thing, and then the series will be done. And the one video we got to do is we got to make up these two brass things and some kind of wheels for them. And like I said before in the series, I'm only doing that for show. I'm never going to use those wheels to squeeze these things together, and you know, it's just going to be there. They're going to be there for looks. The way it is right now is probably the way I'll always use it, and no, it just is what it is. So, anyways, so one more video to go on this, and it's done. I got some other videos that I've done. I got to edit them, and I'll get them on too here pretty soon. We got a video where we're making the handle for the timber framing slick, and then you know, I got some more videos coming up, but you guys will have to wait and see what they are. So, anyways, thank you. Thanks for watching, and keep watching. Thanks.